Yes everybody, what's the crack? Welcome back to another hair cutting tutorial, and in this one we're going to be going through a triangular shape through a technique called graduation. So what I'm going to do is literally just run through a small bit of the theory behind this, and then we're going to get into the actual practical and show you how you can actually implement it on your own clients, or in my case, mannequin head. So one of the things that I want to point out just before we actually start is this green broken line that I've created here. And what that is a visual representation of the shape that we're actually trying to create. So if you take a look at it, you'll notice it goes from a short exterior length to a longer anterior length, and it creates this build up of weight. And technically that's what graduation actually is. It's a technique that's going to allow us to actually create a build up in length and or weight. So to understand how to actually do that, we need to look at something called elevation, one of the most important parts of actually cutting hair. And I'm going to show you a really simple way to look at elevation and break down what it actually does to the hair. So I'm not going to get too technical here, don't worry. So we've got the highest point of elevation, which is 180 degrees. That's when the hair is raised directly from the scalp towards the ceiling. The highest point of elevation, but it creates the softest shapes, and we can get rid of the most amount of weight using something like this. The next one that we're going to take a look at is a more neutral elevation, so 90 degrees. What this is going to create is something that's a lot more balanced. It's not really heavy, it's not really soft. It's something in the middle. The last one that we're going to create is something that's really heavy, and this is 0 degrees elevation. This is the lowest point of elevation, and it creates something that's really heavy. So with our understanding of what we're actually trying to create, we're trying to create something that has a gradual build up in weight. So what graduation actually is anything in between 0 degrees and 90. This is going to allow us to actually build up that weight that we want. And how that's going to look, for the basis of this video, I'm going to keep it super simple. It's something like a diagonal line coming like this, somewhere in between 0 and 90. And to represent that through how the hair would actually come out from the scalp, just going to show you on this as well too. So the hair's coming out diagonally, building weight and the length that we actually want in order to create this triangular shape. So it sounds easy, to be fair. So let's get stuck on it and see how easy it actually is. Let's go. The one thing I want to point out just before we get stuck into it was that this mannequin was actually cut into a round shape before, but that's okay. We can still demonstrate through the sides how this is actually going to go from a short exterior length to a longer anterior length and give us that nice build up in weight. So the main reason why people would want to do this is to actually go against the rounding of the head, this surface here that makes it look a lot more feminine and round. Using this technique will actually build up that strength and weight within the corner, and visually it'll not look as round. So that's why we're actually doing this. So what I'm going to do now is just wet down the hair and section it out in a way that's actually going to let us do this easily. Bring that right to the back. This is going to divide it from left to right. So from just between the apex of the head and where the crown sits, we're going to get it at that second rounding of the head and continue that to just behind the ear. So once we've got that done, again, because this was quite round before, the front of it's actually slightly shorter than what we would want, but that's all right. We can pin this and keep it out of the way. Because we're trying to create a triangular shape here, I'm actually going to use a triangular sectioning pattern on the back. So using my finger and keeping that first tooth of the comb on the head, I'm going to drive down and pull everything else out of the way. Now using my index finger to hold the hair in place, I'm going to then use my finger and thumb on the opposite side, draw it down, meet where the first line came in, and this is going to give us our triangular section that we can keep out of the way then too. And this is going to be very important to actually build up the weight through the crown. Once we've got it like that, what I like to do is always start on the right hand side of the head. So what we're going to be doing here is keeping the external of this haircut around the sideburns and the nape really short. So what I'm thinking about here is similar styles that you see a lot of people nowadays with the flow with a taper around the edges. It's one of the most popular hairstyles at the minute. And I'm going to show you a way that we can do that, or we can just keep it a bit more natural as well too. But it all starts off with the first initial section, which is through the sideburn. So to create graduation, the one thing I want to be keeping in mind here is always having the hair actually groomed towards where we actually want to cut it. So we're thinking about taking it from a really short length here around the bottom. We've got this actually shaved, and building it up in a fashion where the top of it is where the strength and weight is. Using that 45-degree angle, so thinking about how we can take the hair from here and extend it in a downward motion towards our belly button. That's the one thing that I've always been taught. So we're going to start off at the very front and take our first initial guide or section. Keep everything nicely out of the way. Bring the comb underneath, and the one thing that's actually going to dictate where the hair actually goes and the direction it goes is our comb. So if I want this to be at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to think about having my comb at a 45-degree angle, pointing down towards my belly button. And because this is the first initial section or the first initial cut, we're going to have it finger tight to the head. And the reason why I'm going to do this is so that the clipper guards actually slide in and leaves it really easy to come in with the taper afterwards. So moving on to the next, one thing I want to just keep out of the way here is these mannequin heads, sometimes the hairlines aren't the best, and this would technically be a part of the fringe, so I want to keep that away and don't cut that. Everything else we're going to continue with. So section number 2 is going to be pulled directly down where the hair naturally wants to fall. We're going to slide on underneath, pick the hair up. Remember our elevation, it's the most important part. Find our guide's underneath, and then we're going to cut. So we don't cut unless we see our guide. So next section, section 3, we're just doing this in a really clean fashion, working towards the back. So the one thing I'm thinking about here is how the head actually changes. We're on different surfaces of the heads between here and the back, and we need to take that into consideration too. So for this part, we're going to bring the hair up, and again finding our elevation, which is here. We could also, just to demonstrate this, we could take this up to here and still find our guide underneath, but the one thing that's going to be off is our elevation. We're actually creating something that's softer rather than building the weight that we want. So that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see people actually make, is they're elevating too high. They're taking their sections to here and the hair's coming directly out instead of out at a 45-degree angle in which we want. So always think about that. Bringing the hair out, finding our guide, and cutting. So as we work back, I always want to turn the head. Because the surface starts to change, don't be afraid to tell your client to shift their head about. So what we're thinking about here is having the comb on behind, finding where the comb actually wants to sit, bringing the comb to meet the elevation that we want, bringing it out, and continuing this down. So this at the back is now going to get shorter towards the nape. It's exactly what we want. and always moving the head as we move. So what I'm thinking about here at the back as well too is finger tight to the head, because again, similar to the side, this is what's going to allow us to bring in the clipper work and have it sit directly flush to the head. Removes any second guessing when it comes to actually do the clipper work. So working our way back, we don't want to be taking our sections too wide. Thinking about a comb's width, bringing it right back, bringing the hair down, not back the way, bring it down where it actually naturally wants to sit. This is going to show us where it actually truly wants to fall. So bringing the hair below, and now we can actually see that we're around the rounding of the head, we're above the rounding of the head. So this is where we have to think about what we're trying to actually create here, which is something that is more strength and balances out that rounding of the head. So what I want to do for this top section, because it's a rounder surface, is I actually want to bring the hair down. So I want to come from above, which is going to keep a small bit more weight. Bring it down, find our guide, and cut. Now that we're on a flatter surface again, not the rounding, I'm just going to bring the comb underneath. Find our guide. Remembering to change the head position. When you get onto the back, I like to have the head sitting so it's directly at our chest. I think it's the easiest way to work. So what we're thinking about here, combing the hair down, remembering our elevation. And when I say remembering our elevation, just remember the angle in which the hair needs to come out from the head. When it comes to the back, slightly more horizontal, allowing me to control my shape better. Find the surface of the heads and bring it out. Scooping underneath to get rid of all that weight. There's another thing that we need to try to avoid here as well too, and that's overdirection. And what I mean by that is, I'll just show you now. Take another clean section, pull the hair directly down. So overdirection is literally when the hair is coming from one point and it's traveling further away, either left or right, from where it actually naturally wants to sit. So to create graduation and not have a build-up of weight in the places that we don't want, essentially, we need to make sure that it's falling directly at natural fall before we then pick it up and create the elevation that we want. So it can be a bit confusing at the start. What I would think of is, again, the main tip here is to bring the hair directly down. If the hair is to the right or to the left, there's way more chance of actually over-directing it. So if we keep the hair directly down where it wants to lie, come in below, pick it up, create that downward shape, thinking about towards your belly button, bringing the line down, bringing the hair down, finding our guide, and then cutting. So it can be quite a technical process, to be honest, and it's one that just gets better over time. So don't rush it. The one thing I would say is just practice it, like, especially when you're not just behind the chair. I think my understanding of elevation is It's changed a lot since I actually started using a mannequin head. You know, even though I've been cutting hair for 10 years, I still find myself coming back to this to practice and just to get better, because it helps a lot. So again, thinking of where the hair naturally wants to fall. And another good tip for this, when we're thinking about if we're over directing the hair or not, is think about where the hair is actually traveling to in relation to the top of the head. So I'll show you that one now. Again, just taking another section. And how we know the hair is actually in natural fall is when the hair itself is pointed directly towards the apex of the head. This is going to allow us to actually control where the hair sits a lot better and have a true understanding if it's actually being over directed. So with that being said, combing everything down, haven't got much to come off here now. Again, we're working on the round part of the head, so we need to be taking that into consideration. Make sure the hair is coming from the root towards the top of the head. Check for a gauge. Working into a more horizontal shape at the back. So we've probably got our last section now. We're going to just take this section, bring it all the way down towards where it wants to fall. Bringing the hair out towards our belly button. Checking for the gauge, making sure it's pointed towards the highest part of the head, to make sure that we're not over directing. Working our way around the head. If you can see that now, we've got a way better balance of shape. Obviously the back, we're going to come on with the clippers on the side as well too, to clean up around the edges, but what we've got here is a longer length at the top, and I'll just show this to you, what we wanted. So we've got a longer internal length, and we've got the shorter external length. Perfect. This is where it can get a bit tricky, working on the opposite side. If you're right-handed like me, this is always my weaker side, but we can make it work. Using the same concept again. We're going to start at the temple. And this is going to be our shortest part, so we're going to have it finger tight. So the clipper work is easy to blend on. Working our way back. Again, I'm just going to take that first bit of the fringe out of the way. I'm going to take our second section, bringing it directly down, come underneath. Remembering our angle and where the hair's pointed to, so it's not over directed. It's cut. So we're still working below the rounding of the head here, and we don't have to bring the hair down towards our gate, we can still scoop underneath. One thing it's good to do is just to comb the hair that you're not cutting out of the way, and it leaves it a bit easier for you to actually manage it. So now we're going to tilt the head again because we're on that back surface just behind the mastoid bone, and we're going to keep coming around using our guide from the previous. Around the bottom it's going to be a bit rougher, but it doesn't matter, we can come in with the clippers at the end and just tidy that up. It doesn't need to be perfect around there. So again, taking our next section where it comes with, bringing the hair directly down, combing the rest of the hair out of the way. Bringing the hair down at the right angle towards your belly button. And I find this is probably the trickiest part of the head to get right, is like going between the sides on the back of the nape. It's this kind of awkward area where the head actually changes surfaces, and it can throw a lot of people off. Some people have a tendency to build a lot of weight through this and they don't take it actually around in a rounder fashion. So the one thing I would always just say is to take your time with it. Make sure you're not over directing the hair backwards. Think about keeping it where it naturally wants to fall, and that'll create a more round, fluid kind of shape. Grooming the hair back out of the way. Combing the rest of the hair up out of the way. Making sure the hair's pointing towards the apex. Find our guide. And cutting. So we've got a few more sections to do now. So we keep this coming back, just keep working around the same kind of fashion. Bringing all the hair down. This probably doesn't need cut. And that does. Changing the head position. So now we're on to our last section on this part of the head. So again, bringing it down where it naturally wants to fall. Combing it down to see where that is. There's probably not much to come off here, but that's alright. That means we're doing a good job. And one of the things that we'll see actually happening here is we don't have a true build up of weight. What I've done before in the past is cut this on the round shape, and these layers should really stack on top of these, so it should build even more of a triangular shape through here. But this could be the case with somebody actually coming in to get the haircut with you. They want this shape, but their hair is maybe in a different shape to start off with. So we can always cut it and do the best that we can now, but obviously realise that this part of the hair around the crown probably needs to actually catch up so we can actually build more weight on top of this. So there probably won't be much to come off here, but I'm going to show you the method in which I would cut it anyway. So very similar to what we were doing before. If this hair was longer, we would still use the same diagonal sections coming back, bringing the hair down towards, and what we have now is our guide from the longest length of the graduation. And if this hair was longer, it would actually come out and overhang above that. So we would need to cut this in a way that actually allows it to stack more weight on top of this. But that's okay. For the purpose of this video, we're actually showing you how to create a solid triangular shape through the sides. So if this hair was actually longer, what I would be doing is taking the long parts from the crown, which is here, which connects on top of the graduation, and which we done on the back. And I would be taking a profile guide and cutting this, keeping our longest part of the graduation from the back as our guide. I would cut everything either square or triangular. Triangular would be more like this. I would cut that, allow this part to grow out because it's fairly shorter than the rest. And that would bring me onto a really nice silhouette going forward that has more length through the front and some weight around the crown as well too. So I'm just going to cut the top of it very quickly just to demonstrate that this isn't really the part that we're focusing on. Right, so once I dry this off now and actually do the sides, we're going to see that triangular shape and we're going to see the result of the graduation in which we used. So what we can see now is that build up in weight that we actually created through the sides, and when that's brushed back, it gives us a really nice silhouette, keeping the weight but adding to the flow. So what I'm going to show you now is literally just how to knock off the bulk on the sides and the back, and that'll give us a really nice short to long look. So because this was already cut finger tight to the head, this is actually going to be really easy just to glide onto. We'll do a small bit of scissor over comb and that'll be us. And what that is going to allow us to do is actually, if we want to do a taper underneath, we could always take that shorter and do the taper onto the number 3. Just gives us a good option. So now on the back of the head, obviously we've got our shape. Now we're just going to knock this out. We're using a flicking motion to work onto the scissor work that we've done. So if we've done this right, this is going to leave the clipper work really easy for us. We can just bang it out and refine it with the scissor work easily. So again, if I wanted to taper this on shorter, I could always flick something else on underneath. And I could take that as short as I want. Combing everything down. Working our way upwards, and similar kind of thing again, the comb is still on that same 45-degree angle. It's literally just working its way up from short to long, and that's the reference that we need to keep the structure the same throughout. And we can refine it with thinning scissors as well too, just to take out that tiny bit of bulk above the clipper work, just to blend it on a bit more smooth. One of the best tools if they're used right. So obviously the back of it is slightly more rounded from the previous cut, but this is going to allow this to grow out really nicely. It's still got that triangular shape, and it goes from the short exterior length up onto that bulk, and it's going to allow this crown to actually grow out nicely for the client. or the mannequin, whatever you want to call them. So on to the last side now. And again, this is going to be similar to the previous one, where our clipper work is literally just going to slide on, take out any stray hairs or bulk. And using our scissors to clean it up. So the last thing that I would probably do here is literally just detail around the edges. So what I'm going to do here is just shape around the ears, and again, these mannequin heads can be a bit temperamental. The ears on them are very rigid and don't move, so we'll do the best we can. So obviously there are parts of this haircut that I would like to be more grown out, but this is the best and what you can do with what I have. And hopefully it's of some help to somebody out there that's maybe struggling with this style. And this side, just tidying up around the ear again. Just clean up around the ear as best as we can. And it's not easy when they've got plastic ears, but we'll do the best we can. I think we're looking not too bad. So what I'm going to do here is literally just add a small bit more product just to style it on the place. One of my favourite things to actually do is style the hair. And I think it's one of the things that can make your work stand out from a lot of other people. So take a bit of time at the end of a haircut, focus it on actually styling, and you'll see your work actually just come to life in a different way. So there's different ways that I like to style it. Sometimes I'd like to style it a bit more groomed to show off the shape in which we created. But most of the time, the way I actually like to style it, it's just a bit more natural and loose. The way most people actually wear their hair. So bringing our fingers on and just bringing loads of texture through it. We can still bring out the shape in which we cut. It just adds a bit more texture and movement to it. I think it can actually look a lot better. It's how people actually wear their hair most of the time, but we're seeing a lot of these really groomed kind of styles at the moment, and they're cool too, shows off the shape, but I think something a bit more natural always suits. So I hopefully you like that one. Hopefully it kind of clears up what graduation actually is and how we can actually implement it. So if you enjoyed that video, don't forget to leave me a comment below. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and don't forget to subscribe. It helped me a lot. So see you.